My name is Andrea Williams, and I'm 57 years old. I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood in Portland, Oregon, where most days pass peacefully, mornings with the smell of fresh coffee, afternoons tending to my small garden, and evenings spent with my golden retriever, Daisy. Life had slowed down for me after retirement. I had worked as a high school English teacher for over 30 years. I loved my job, loved my students, and loved seeing them grow. But once I retired, the silence that filled my home was both soothing and heavy. I had time, so much time, but I wasn't sure what to do with it anymore. My 2 children, Michael and Sophie, were both grown and living in other states. We called often, but the distance between us made our connections feel like echoes of what used to be. One Friday evening, as I sat on the porch watching the sunset, my phone buzzed. It was an email titled, "Invitation to Reconnect, Class of 1990 Reunion." At first, I smiled nostalgically. My mind wandered back to the faces of students from decades ago, young, eager, and full of dreams. But as I read further, I noticed the message wasn't just for the students. It was from Sarah Miller, one of my old colleagues who was now organizing a reunion for teachers and alumni together. "Greater than, Andrea, we would love for you to come. It won't be the same without you." For a few minutes, I just stared at the screen. It had been years since I'd gone anywhere social. The idea of seeing everyone again, the former students now in their 40s, the teachers I hadn't spoken to in ages, made me nervous. But deep down, something inside me whispered, "Go." And that whisper changed everything. Chapter 2. Preparing for something new. That weekend, I pulled out my old wardrobe and laughed at the sight of vintage clothes still hanging there, blouses I used to wear to school, scarves gifted by students, and a pair of shoes that hadn't seen sunlight in a decade. I decided to buy a simple new dress, something elegant but comfortable. When I looked in the mirror, I saw a woman older, yes, but wiser too. The lines around my eyes weren't flaws anymore, they were proof of a life lived fully. Daisy wagged her tail as if approving my choice. "All right, girl," I said, smiling, "maybe this will be fun after all." Chapter 3. The Reunion Night. The event was held at a lakeside hotel ballroom. The moment I walked in, I was greeted by a flood of laughter, music, and faces I hadn't seen in decades. "Mrs. Williams," someone called out. I turned and saw Daniel Reed, one of my brightest students from back in 1992. He was taller now, with graying hair and a kind smile. "You haven't changed much," he said warmly. I laughed. "Oh, Daniel, you must need new glasses." We both chuckled, and soon I was surrounded by former students, each eager to share where life had taken them. One was now a doctor, another a novelist, one even owned a small coffee shop downtown. It was heartwarming to see how they'd all grown, and humbling to realize I had played even a small part in their journeys. Later that evening, as the music softened and people mingled, Daniel approached me again. "Mrs. Williams," he said gently, "we're starting a community learning center next month. We want to offer free English and writing classes for adults who never finished school. Would you consider teaching again, even just once a week?" I was speechless. After retiring, I thought my teaching days were over. But hearing that I could still make a difference, stirred something powerful inside me. "I'd love to," I said softly. Chapter 4. The New Beginning. Weeks later, I found myself standing in a small classroom again. The chalkboard smelled faintly of dust and nostalgia. The students sitting in front of me weren't teenagers this time, they were adults, some in their 30s, others in their 60s, all eager to learn. One of them, a woman named Gloria, had tears in her eyes when she said, "I dropped out at 16. I never thought I'd be here again." In that moment, I realized, life doesn't stop giving us chances. Sometimes, we just need to say yes when an invitation comes our way. Teaching again filled my days with purpose. Every week, I walked into that room feeling alive in ways I hadn't for years. Chapter 5. Reflections. Months passed, and the class grew. Daniel often stopped by to help, and we became good friends. On quiet afternoons, I'd sit by the window with Daisy, thinking about how one small email had turned my quiet life into something vibrant again. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. You're never too old to begin again. Life will surprise you when you least expect it, maybe through a reunion invite, maybe through an unexpected conversation, or maybe through the simple act of saying yes to what's next. At 57, I didn't need a second youth. I needed a second purpose. And I found it. Now, every time I stand before my new students, I start the class by saying, greater than, my name is Andrea Williams, I'm 57 years old, and I believe it's never too late to learn, to teach, or to live again. The smiles that follow are worth everything. And that's how one invitation, just one, changed my life forever.